Welcome back to Kleppers Quarter, Today in History, where we look at the days that shaped humanity and wonder if maybe humanity should have stopped shaping itself after the 90s. November 10th, folks, a date that's seen more drama than an Elon Musk earnings call. It's a day that gave us reformers, dictators, artists, soldiers, and Cookie Monster, which honestly sounds like the casting call for the next GOP convention. Segment 1, the birth of a rebel and the death of a founder. November 10th is all about men who rewired civilization, starting with Martin Luther, born in 1483. The guy who saw indulgences and said, you know what, maybe God doesn't take bribes. Luther's posting of his 95 Theses was basically the 1500s version of subtweeting the Pope, and it worked. He split Christianity, invented the Protestant work ethic, and made Germans fluent in the Bible, which, to be fair, was still less depressing than modern German cinema. Then, centuries later, another man used reform to build a new order, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who died on this same day in 1938. He turned the crumbling Ottoman Empire into a modern secular Turkey. He banned the fez, gave women rights, and replaced the call to prayer with what sounded suspiciously like a national TED Talk. Every year at 9:05 a.m., Turkey literally stops to remember him. That's right, traffic halts, sirens wail, and people stand still. Meanwhile, in America, we can't even get folks to stop honking during a funeral procession. Two men, same date. One nailed his demands to a church door, the other nailed modernization to a nation. Both knew how to make noise that echoed for centuries. Luther had theology, Ataturk had nationalism, and both would have crushed it on Twitter. Segment 2, art, drama, and the men who yelled it beautifully. November 10th also gave us cultural heavyweights. Friedrich Schiller, born 1759, poet, philosopher, and the only man who could make rebellion sound like opera. His Ode to Joy became the soundtrack for every major European event. Revolutions, reunifications, and that one time Germany won Eurovision. Then there's Richard Burton, born in 1925, the Welsh actor who made Shakespeare sexy and divorce proceedings glamorous. 7 Oscar nominations, 2 marriages to Elizabeth Taylor, which, by the way, is the Hollywood equivalent of trying heroin twice and thinking, maybe this time it'll go better. Burton's voice was so rich it could have sold you anything, even NFTs. And Ennio Morricone, born 1928, the maestro who made gunfights sound like church. His scores turned cheap westerns into epics. The good, the bad, and the ugly became the sound of every awkward stare-down you've ever had in a Walmart parking lot. If Beethoven invented symphonies, Morricone invented swagger. So on this day, remember, November 10th isn't just war and politics. It's the day we decided that art could shoot, sing, and sigh. Sometimes all at once. Segment 3, from taverns to titans, the Marines are born. November 10th, 1775. The Second Continental Congress decided, you know what this revolution needs? Guys who can fight on land and at sea and drink like pirates. Thus, the U.S. Marine Corps was born in a tavern, because, naturally, the world's most disciplined fighting force started with a bar tab. Tun Tavern in Philadelphia is the Corps' mythical birthplace. Part pub, part recruiting station, part hold my beer moment in American history. Today, every Marine celebrates their birthday with a ball, cake, and a ritual where the oldest Marine hands a slice to the youngest, symbolizing the passing of wisdom, cholesterol, and hangovers. It's tradition, it's patriotism, and it's proof that nothing in America happens until someone says, let's do it at the bar. Segment 4, when empires fell and heads rolled. In 1444, at the Battle of Varna, Christian forces met the Ottoman Empire in what history remembers as Europe's last crusade, and what military historians call a really bad idea. King Vladislav III charged into battle, trying to kill the Sultan himself, which is basically the medieval version of Leroy Jenkins. Spoiler, it didn't go well. He got beheaded, the crusade collapsed, and Constantinople fell 9 years later. It's the kind of story that reminds us, heroism is inspiring, but strategy is helpful. If you're going to take on an empire, maybe don't bring a horse to a cannon fight. Segment 5, the day of broken glass and broken democracy. November 10th isn't all glory. It's also the day humanity decided to rehearse for hell, twice. In 1898, Wilmington, North Carolina had a thriving black middle class and a biracial local government. Then, white supremacists staged America's only successful coup d'etat. They burned down the black-owned newspaper, murdered citizens, and overthrew elected officials. They called it restoring order. Historians call it America's rehearsal for Jim Crow. Wilmington didn't elect another black official for 74 years, which is somehow still faster than Congress confirming a budget. Then, 40 years later to the day, Kristallnacht, 1938. The Nazis unleashed a coordinated pogrom across Germany, burning over 1,400 synagogues and smashing 7,500 Jewish-owned businesses. They called it the Night of Broken Glass because Night of State-Sanctioned Terrorism didn't fit on the propaganda poster. The next morning, insurance companies denied claims, the victims were fined, and the world largely shrugged. Even the U.S. refused to lift immigration quotas for Jewish refugees. Imagine seeing that and saying, we're full. We weren't, just morally. 2 November 10ths, 2 nations, same sickness. Hate with a government badge. Segment 6, from Elmo to Microsoft, a day of connection. Let's pivot from tragedy to technology, because November 10th also gave us Sesame Street and Microsoft Windows. That's right, one taught us the alphabet, the other taught us the blue screen of death. Sesame Street premiered on this day in 1969, a show built to educate poor urban kids using puppets, jazz, and optimism. Basically the opposite of Twitter. It was so progressive, Mississippi banned it for showing racial harmony. Nothing says family values like being scared of a Muppet hug. Then, in 1983, Bill Gates announced Microsoft Windows, a bold new graphical interface that made computers user-friendly for the first time. It was late, buggy, and a bit of a joke at first. But give it time, and you're staring at the foundation for modern life. One where we all type essays at 2 a.m. while pretending to work from home. And let's not forget November 10th, 1903, when Mary Anderson patented the windshield wiper. A woman ahead of her time and literally ahead of everyone else on the road. Every rainy commute owes her thanks. So if you ever find yourself cursing at your wipers, remember, they were invented by a woman who just wanted people to see where the hell they were going. Which, let's be honest, is a metaphor America still needs. Segment 7, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and the Wall of Memory. November 10th, 1975. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior, taking all 29 crew members. It was the Great Lakes Titanic, except this one got a haunting folk ballad instead of Leonardo DiCaprio. To this day, no one knows exactly what went wrong. But the ship's last words, "We are holding our own," feel painfully human. We always think we are, right until we're not. And in 1982, on the same date, Maya Lin's Vietnam Veterans Memorial opened in Washington, D.C. A black granite scar in the earth, listing every fallen soldier. No flags, no speeches, just names. Because sometimes history doesn't need to shout. It just needs to whisper. It was controversial at first. Critics said it wasn't heroic enough. But maybe that's the point. The wall isn't about glory. It's about grief, reflection, and the echo of 58,000 names that remind us how much noise silence can make. So what's November 10th really? It's the day we see the best and worst of what we can be. Rebels and reformers, tyrants and teachers, sailors and storytellers. It's the day that gave birth to the Marines and Sesame Street, institutions that both demand discipline, teamwork, and occasionally yelling, "Oorah!" It's a day where glass breaks, ships sink, and yet somehow hope resurfaces. Luther challenged the church, Ataturk rebuilt a nation, and a bunch of puppets taught the world to count to 10. Maybe the real lesson of November 10th is that progress and destruction often share the same calendar, and history is less about choosing one side than learning from both. Because every November 10th, humanity looks in the mirror and asks, are we holding our own? And the answer, as always, is barely. But we're trying.